Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world-class. I'm Ryan Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the avalanche of announcements from Destination D23. And joining us to unpack all of that is James Grosch from Guide2WDW. Oh, I was going to say...
Nailed it.
Guide2WDW. It's so hard to say fast, and I couldn't do it. But check out Guide2WDW. God. Guide2WDW. I feel like I'm having a stroke right now. But
my apologies for this.
Welcome, James.
I didn't name Guide2WDW. That was my sister.
How are you doing that?
She's through many hundreds of videos saying, I'm James from Guide2WDW. Although now I have it in my head, I'm going to mess it up. My sister named it as a website in 1999. And then I took it over and then started doing videos for it about a couple of years ago. So I've been saying Guide2WDW a lot.
I could tell. It's quite the tongue twister.
Doing the family business proud.
And I practiced before this, and I still couldn't get it. But either way, that's in no way indicative of the great content you could find over there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Y'all are one of my favorite podcasts out there, not just theme park podcasts, but podcasts. I've been coming down to Orlando a lot, doing a lot of travel, and kind of my ritual is that I'll fire up FYA to, as I'm on the plane or driving down and just listen to who's going to do a muscle job and, if the attraction is world class. So I love it. Thank you. This is a thrill for me.
Oh, amazing.
Really appreciate it,
We're going to have you back on to do a normal, just cover a ride, just a ride in general.
I would love to.
But for today, as mentioned up top, we're going to be talking about D23. Now, every time I say the word D, my body is going into shock. But in the meantime, just a little quick housekeeping. Like and subscribe to keep us alive over on youtube.com/@FYApod. Or if you're listening to the audio version, subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars over there, wherever you get your podcasts. And consider supporting us on our fourth wall, FYApod.com. You'll get up to 3 monthly bonus shows and ad-free main episodes. And sometimes we're going to be releasing some vicarious vlogs early for e-ticketers over there.
That's right. E-ticketers can get extended cuts of the vlogs a little bit early, about like a week or so early is the goal. So, for you current e-ticketers, thank you so much for supporting us to the extent you do. We really appreciate your passion, and we hope you are enjoying the extended cuts that you've been receiving so far.
Byron's a machine.
We'll try and keep it on track, but
we'll try. And as if you're a fan of this pod, you know that we don't often succeed in that. But James, thank you for listening to the pod. I'm always surprised when people have actually listened to the pod and they come on the show. So that's very nice of you to say. And of course, we've seen your content. But you were just there. You were just at D23. We're filming this, 3 days removed?
Two days after. It was Friday through Sunday. So today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
So about a week after after this event is when viewers and listeners will be feasting on this. So
that's right.
A little time for it to digest.
Yeah.
Not going to need that much time. But it was I think we all kind of knew going into this one there wasn't going to be a lot of detail shared, just because there wasn't even a parks panel. So I kind of knew to keep my expectations low. But how did you feel going into the event?
I had heard it's not going to be like last year at D23 when they had at Anaheim, when they had the Hana Center and they announced the Villains Land and Piston Peak. And, it was a bunch of new lands, new cruise ships. It was a crazy event. So I heard it's going to be new details on things that we've already announced. So I had heard that and my expectations were set. And then, of course, I couldn't help myself, but I did a big 23 predictions for a D23 thing that ended up being, I just went through it. I think I got 2 or 3 right. So I couldn't help myself. But even with my expectation set of they are going to announce a bunch of stuff. And, we did get there were some surprises. There were some juicy details. There was a lot of things that got me excited as a Disney fan. But I think it is a thing of this is kind of a resetting year. 2 years ago at Destination D23, they had Josh D'Amaro out. And I believe that was they announced the Country Bear redo. They announced Zootopia. They announced the Tropical America's Land. So it was a lot of big news at that event. And this year, I think it's more about they've reset it as okay, we're going to get the big announcements at the Anaheim show. This show is much more of a focused fan event.
Vibes.
Yes, vibes.
I've written down some of the announcements that occurred to me as substantial, or at least the ones that like I thought were noteworthy. And then I guess if there's some that you guys want to cover as well, we could go through it that way. But Villains Land, they had like a little bit on conjured architecture.
Yes, new Imagineering term.
How did they describe this in terms of conjured architecture? It was basically just another way to say spooky imagined architecture that tells a story, but I'm sure they said it much more eloquently than that.
Yeah, they talked about how they went on one of their, fabled Imagineer research trips. They went to Paris to study Art Nouveau architecture. And they talked about how that has a lot of natural motifs and like kind of swirling imagery. And it kind of looks like a spell has been cast on nature. And then they also went to Barcelona and studied modernism. And they said that is less natural, but kind of takes cues. It's more like unnerving. The pictures that they showed, like there's hidden faces in the architecture. There was one image of this building like on the inside, and the roof looks like there's like a rib cage coming out of it.
Yeah,
like truly and they said it's unnerving, which actually got me pretty excited for like the direction of the land. That it's not going to be overly, it might still have a little bit of camp, but it's gonna still have a little bit of an edge to it.
That's interesting because I love Barcelona for the architecture. I love Gaudi, who's like their guy over there. He's the guy who does like all of like Sagrada Familia and like Park Güell, and he's known for that kind of bizarro, like almost gothic kind of droopy architecture style that's like horror, Tim Burton leaning. And I guess that would make sense that they would go to Barcelona. That does make me excited for the architecture there. By the way, did you know Gaudi died in the street?
I did not know that.
Well, did you know that you could eat smarter with tasty chef prep meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to your doorstep? And did you also know that Factor's got 65 weekly meals made for how you live and how you like to eat? Well, guess what? They sure do. So what are you waiting for? Come on over, join the party, support your wellness goals, enjoy even more GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. My personal favorite, I'm trying to get into Mediterranean food ever since my doctor's been harping on me for it. And yeah. I'm loving it. So, and they also got plenty of global flavors. And for the first time, you can try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors influenced by China, Thailand, and more. And how could I forget also all the amazing seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. From more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. And it's important to note that these meals that are chef prepared are ready to go in about 2 minutes, which really works nicely for my busy work week schedule. Eat smart at factormeals.com/FYA50off and use code FYA50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code FYA50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Meow, back to how Gaudi died in the street.
So apparently he was living in Sagrada Familia. This is what I heard when I was on a bike tour there. And, this was a while ago, but apparently this is I did not research this prior. So you have to fact check me on this maybe later. As far as I know, he was living in there and wasn't really showering or changing his clothes and just kind of doing an artist thing. And folks, I guess, assumed that he was some sort of vagrant or something. And then he was walking out in the street and he got hit by one of those trolleys and nobody helped him. And he died. And he died in the street. And it's like the city's greatest son. And I always thought that was crazy. It has no bearing on what we were talking about. But every time I look at that church, I'm like, damn, dude, that guy, they just left him. That's insane.
So that is very dark and depressing. But they did name drop Gaudi at the panel.
I'm sure they did.
So specifically. So
they didn't tell that story, though.
They did not tell that story. They did not have.
They would have treated him much better.
Now, who's running the show over at Sagrada Familia at this point? Because I feel like it's got to be some representative that's like speaking in Catalan, something to the tune of like Walt Disney, like, this will never be complete.
Yes, yes.
It's always I don't know. I've only seen it with scaffolding around it.
I mean, I will say though, and Byron, you've traveled the world a little bit more than me, I would say, but in terms of the buildings and churches I've seen over my lifetime, it is undeniably one of the coolest buildings I've ever seen in person. Like to the point where it does look like a surrealist painting, almost like brought to life.
Minus the scaffolding I always see around
Sure, the
it.
scaffolding
Absolutely,
I imagine would be a bit of an immersion break, but yeah, it's fantastic.
What came to mind when I first saw, I actually didn't read into the Barcelona part initially, but when they were first showing this Destination like D23, these location photos and whatnot, and the whole Art Nouveau, like, which I don't know jack about architecture for that. But the first thing that popped in my mind, oddly enough, was this little courtyard in Barcelona that I walked once. That is where they shot the Evanescence music video.
Which
for
one?
My Immortal.
Oh, I thought you meant, wait, is it Bring Me to Life?
No, My Immortal.
Oh, I don't know if I know.
It's
that
like
one.
it's the really somber one with the piano and the.
When you cried, I'd wipe away all.
Obviously, we're not playing it. We'll get demonetized, but it's it was funny. So like as soon as like that popped in my head, like I read a couple sentences later on the description, it was like, Barcelona. I felt so validated because I don't know anything about architecture, but
Well, that's cool that they have. I always like when they go out in the wild and gather real details. It reminds me of those old trips that they took over to like Nepal back in the day when they were building out Animal Kingdom with Joe Rohde and the gang.
Yeah, and they talked about the importance of like, the animation and the artist behind the animation. That's like the number one source material. But then how do you find inspiration for these fantastical worlds in the real world? So it should give this feeling of this kind of like magical space that is fantastical, but also has these real world groundings.
And then they also brought in Andreas Deha, which is he's the animator behind Gaston, Jafar, and Scar. That's pretty cool. I mean, I like that they're bringing in somebody who was involved in the original source material. I wonder how involved he'll be, but did they have any more color on that, or was it just basically like, we got him?
They shared a video with him, a pre-recorded message of him. It looked like at the Imagineering headquarters.
it looked like where they do those. They had the face molds, right?
Yes.
Oh, and the Blaine, what is it? Like the
Blaine Gibson?
The Blaine Gibson studio, yeah.
He talked a lot about how, he approached the different characters and the different inspirations that he got, and that, when they gave him the call to ask him to come in and consult on the project, that he was just very excited, and that he shared this drawing that he gave to Mark Davis of Jafar asking Maleficent for a dance for Mark Davis's 80th birthday. And he kind of referenced like how it's going to be fun to have all these different big, bad, bold personalities all in one space. And that the other detail of just like me as a theme park sicko looking at all the details, it's like he said there's going to be dramatic lighting. And so I'm like, ooh, dramatic lighting package. Okay, this is going to be great. I think it's a good sign that Disney and Imagineering is like leaning on these experts from the past to help with the future projects. I had heard like, they're going to bring in this classic villains animator, this villains expert to come and consult on the project. And just in my mind, because I'm like, classic villains, they got somebody who worked on Snow White. They got somebody who worked on Maleficent, and not realizing like, it's stuff from the 90s, stuff from when I was a kid. That can't be like the classic villains. But of course, like Gaston, Jafar, Scar, like so iconic.
You said Maleficent dancing with Jafar?
Yes.
Or
Jafar asking for a dance. Like it was like a birthday card that Andreas Deha drew for Mark Davis.
Oh, okay. I think I thought you said that was something that they were planning, and they were going to be staging all these various meet cutes with all these villains around the land.
No. That was just like, I think that was just to illustrate the fact of like, you're going to have all these villains all from all these different properties all in one place.
Well,
that might be fun.
It could be fun.
A villains dance party.
I'd be curious who would be into who. But Villains Land, that's easily it. We did a D23 episode. I can't recall where it fell on my list, but it was definitely among. I think it must have been like top 3 for me of the projects I'm most excited for.
I'm so excited for Villains Land. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do in comparison to Dark Universe. And also, a detail that a lot of people are kind of missing is that the Imagineer who was on stage for this is Wyatt Winter. And he was the lead for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Nice.
And so, and the fact that this land has a roller coaster in it, at least in the concept art, that has me really excited because I think Guardians has that like perfect mix of it's a little bit edgier for a Disney ride. The thrills are a little bit higher, but still approachable. And I think that would be like the right tone to hit for this villain's land.
Yeah, because they do have a tightrope to walk there. I know you'd mentioned that in your coverage too of how it's kind of tough that you have to be not too scary for kids, but then not too lame for like adults to be like, what the hell is this?
Totally, yeah. I think as like with Universal, the fear was that they'd make Dark Universe too scary, and I think they hit the perfect tone where it's like
I agree.
It's creepy, it's eerie, it feels dangerous, but not like nobody's gonna jump out at you. Whereas I think the fear, at least on my part for villains, is that it's going to be too campy, more like the villain show that's at Hollywood Studios right now, where that's very bright, very fun, but it's kind of very silly. I think villains needs to go a little bit further with that. And like all the things that they announced at this panel has me excited for the direction that it's going.
I just want to see somebody from the villain's land murder Mater because it's next door, right? If they could do that, all is forgiven. I want to see someone stick a baked potato in his tailpipe and watch him just suffocate. Anyways, moving on to the next point here. Popcorn buckets. They had a lot of them.
They sure
They
did.
announced a whole lot of popcorn buckets. If you're into popcorn buckets, boy, you got quite the lineup. Like if you were going into this expecting a lineup of coasters or rides, you were sorely disappointed. But if you were going in there going, I hope we have some popcorn buckets ready for purchase, I got great news for you. There's a lot of them. There's the Monsters Inc. Scream canister. That's pretty cool. They have like a Winnie the Pooh one. This is just off the top of my head.
Love that, yeah. You are the Colonel King, by the way. It actually surprises me that you don't really dive into the popcorn buckets.
That's because when I'm eating popcorn, the canister or the receptacle in which I'm eating them from, it doesn't matter. It becomes invisible to me. I'm just. It's merely a delivery system for it to get inside my body.
I respect it.
And also just they're kind of bulky. It's like I have nowhere to put there's only so much room on the tiki room shelf.
And you're kind of stuck with the popcorn bucket.
Yeah. My wife doesn't really like clutter, so and honestly, she's probably right. I would look like a maniac if I had a bunch of like Figment popcorn souvenir buckets around the house, which I wouldn't mind one.
Same here. I have a strict rule, no popcorn buckets. I get the appeal of them. It's more that once I pop, I won't stop. I'll be like, well, that guy needs a buddy, and then I'll just have a whole popcorn bucket room. And my wife definitely would not approve of that. When we met, I had a whole Vinyl Nation collection, and she was like, yeah, we got to do something about that. So, which is now like been pared down.
James, you've been really jonesing for an announcement regarding Journey into Imagination.
Yes.
That's right.
Has the Figment popcorn bucket ever been a temptation?
Oh, yes. I'm not saying I don't get it. I've been tempted by popcorn buckets. Like the Death Star one that they just had a Spaceship Earth, like Mickey shaped one. There are some that I'm like, I get why that's cool, but then, and I'm tempted to buy it, but I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? How am I going to get it home? How am I going to fit it in my suitcase? So people were in the room. People were stoked. People were into the popcorn buckets. I was at the Typhoon Lagoon. Yes, I was at the Typhoon Lagoon party later that night, and I overheard like two people chatting. Go, did you see those popcorn buckets? Like very excited. So that's just there is an audience, and there are people who are so stoked for that. So I'm really happy for them. But yeah, I can't let myself do that.
By the way, speaking of Typhoon Lagoon after hours event, did they let you go on the slides?
Yes. All the slides
awesome.
were open.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh!
All had low weights. That's mainly what I did.
Nighttime water slides.
That sounds great.
Sign me up.
It was great and a little scary.
We went to an after hours event back in May. I don't know if I even people that have seen any of our episodes back in May. I think we've already joked about this, but we went to a particular water park after hours, and we were not allowed in the water or on any of the slides, and that made me a little sad inside.
Byron's never going to let this go.
I will never let this go. So I'm very jealous, but I'm also simultaneously very happy that they gave you all access to the slides.
Yes, it was very fun and a little bit terrifying. A little bit, I like water slides, but it's also a thing of like, I feel like I could mess this up and really just ruin my weekend if I don't keep my arms crossed or something. And I almost did. I went into the wave pool and got completely bodied by a wave and almost lost my glasses.
Oh no!
I had like a glasses strap, but I don't know what I was thinking of. Like, oh yeah, of course, a giant thing of water is going to take them off. But I somehow got very lucky and found them at the bottom of the wave pool.
God, wave pools used to be so much fun as a kid. I imagine as an adult that would be a nightmare. Now,
it was so much fun until my glasses flew off of my head. So
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But you probably appreciated those glasses the rest of the trip.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Well, guys, that covers items 1 and 2. We talked about the popcorn buckets. I'm checking it off.
I'm proud of us.
Okay.
Item number 3. I did laugh at this one. There's going to be a new dining area outside of Napa Rose.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, alfresco dining, 2 fireplaces.
Honestly, I have to admit, and this is crazy, being a lifelong Disneylander, SoCal native, I've never dined at Napa Rose, mainly because I always imagined it would be quite expensive, but I've heard tell that it is legitimately delicious.
It is fantastic. I've had several meals there that have been some of my favorite Disney meals ever. And it's comparable to like, Carthay, Blue Bayou. Like prices aren't too crazy. And it's been many years since I've done this, so the price might have gone up, but they had a chef's counter experience that was very reasonable. It was like, I feel like it was like, this was back in like 2017. But it was like $125 and it was like a 5-course thing.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So like, are you so then I think folks who are fans of Napa Rose would probably be excited by more dining space.
Yes. And the inside is getting renovated as well. And I think they're like overhauling the menu. Like they're going to keep some stuff, but they're going to add new items.
I do like that they're taking the time to make downtown Disney better. We are living in a time right now where the media or the theme park landscape is so dominated right now by Universal News just because they're building impossibly fast. Like I don't know how they're doing it. And so it's weird to say I feel bad for Disney. I almost feel bad for Disney when it comes to these announcement events where it's just like, dude, well, what are we going to say here?
To be fair, Disney hasn't always had these announcement events. They started this at the beginning of Iger's tenure back in almost mid 2000s, right? Or
I think 2009 was the first D23 in California. I could be wrong about that. My first D23 was like 2013. I went like 2013 through 2017 out in California, and they always had like a parks panel, and it was like, never giant news. They announced the Star Wars Land back in 2015, but they announced that at the studios panel. Like they didn't announce that at the parks panel. Parks panel always back then was kind of like, oh, here's a few updates. We'll bring Stan Lee out on stage to talk about the Iron Man ride coming to Hong Kong. It was stuff like that. So I feel like we got a little, I think like last year was like, okay, those are the big announcements that are the things that are on the level of, what Universal's doing with new parks and new rides. There were so many new rides announced last year, so many new lands. I think this year is just a thing of like, I don't know how much they want to reveal before things are finalized, because I think it's bit them in the past to show concept art and then have something and people compare it to the concept art and go like, they cut things back. Oh, there was supposed to be a ride there and they cut that. So I think they're waiting to show things much closer to when they are actually finalized for construction.
I'm all for that.
No.
And we were actually having a little back and forth earlier, wondering if it's better off to announce things many years in advance, or what Universal's kind of been doing where it's like half built and like everyone knows what it is, and like they're playing cheeky with you, know. They have a really funny social media team, like when they did that Velocicoaster churro stand and stuff. So there's 2 different ways to do it, but I kind of get both sides of it. But I don't know, maybe they each work for the respective theme park titans, but
yeah. I think it's smart for them to kind of wait and not overhype things. Like the new test track overhaul that just opened up, they shared the same 2 pieces of concept art for an entire year, and I was getting a little like nervous and worried of like, okay, are they not showing stuff because they don't have much for this? Is it not going to be that much change? And it was a great overhaul. I loved it a lot, and so I'm
gonna throw this out here just early because I totally agree with you. I just want to make sure because Ryan doesn't want any spoilers.
I haven't got on it.
I'm guessing you've been on it. I went on it, I think, a day before it officially opened, and then as well on the day it opened. But I totally agree with you. I thought they did a terrific job with it and was surprised that it got so little the coverage it did.
All right, so that's number 3. Moving on to number 4, we got some new folks on the Disney Destiny, which, you know, Byron's, I think he's cruise pilled now, so he's probably excited for that.
I'm officially a cruiser now. I went on my first Disney cruise back in July.
Well, maybe you'll set sail next time with Loki, Cruella, and Dr. Facilier on the Disney Destiny.
Well, hopefully y'all can come with me.
That would be great.
Maybe we'll get this little puppy on here too. There's for you audio listeners, the Vinny man, Ryan's dog, Golden Doodle, has invaded our set. It's a welcome surprise.
And then we got next item. We got the villain takeover in Hong Kong Disneyland. That's happening from September 19th to November 2nd. We got the Magic Kingdom Castle going back to the classic colorway. I'm not really. Maybe, right?
Yeah. What the classic colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it seems like it's going to be, right, James?
Oh yeah, they said it's inspired by the 1971 look. It's the grays, creams, gold, like touches of gold and blue. Unironically, that was the biggest reaction of the crowd in the weekend. People were going nuts when they showed the picture of the castle, because I know the new light pink paint job has been divisive. So, but yeah, it's back to what, at least, you know, how it was in my childhood, and so I'm excited to see it go back that way.
I can't imagine it's going to be exact, right? Because I was wondering, what was the point of the concept art if they could have just put up like a really tastefully, like a really good photo,
right?
Or maybe even like a vintage one.
I think it's going to be subtly different. The Disney Parks blog post about it did show like the old, pre-2020 castle. But yes, I feel like it's going to be slightly different. And then for us Imagineering nerds, they did announce a new episode of We Call It Imagineering coming out September 8th. I think that that's on the Imagineering YouTube channel. I think that's a fantastic, like, kind of documentary series, like behind the scenes look. And that's going to be all about castles. They showed off the Abu Dhabi castle. There's going to be a few other things on there, but they said specifically that we'll find out more about the new castle's paint job.
All right. Well, paint and popcorn buckets. We got that covered. Check. And then moving on. Actually, speaking of documentaries, that actually was one of the things I was most excited about, because I'm going to be honest, not only a lot of these excitement announcements moved me, but I will say I am super stoked for Disneyland Handcrafted. So Leslie Iwerks doing this. If you don't know Leslie Iwerks, she's the granddaughter of Iwerks, who co-created and animated Mickey Mouse and Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So pretty cool that she's still involved in the family. The Iwerks family is still down to clown with Walt and the gang. Byron, you mentioned that like it's nice that like there's a good relationship there, because they could be salty that like they don't get a lot of credit for.
Yeah, I guess not like a lot of mainstream credit. So I always like wondered what that dynamic was actually like, because it's hard to really know. But I mean, what a better, like, I guess, testament to having a prosperous working relationship at the very least, if the Iwerks family is actually producing legitimate Disney content,
and they still reference them,
and it's really good.
100%.
I mean, like, Imagineering Story is terrific.
Yeah, so she directed Imagineering Story and this new documentary, as far as I've gathered from watching the trailer, because they did release a trailer. We can't play that for... What in the world? Sounds like someone's trying to break into the tiki set. That scared the hell out of me. The gods have been angered by all the celebrating. No more announcements. We can't take it.
They heard us bringing up the trailer, and they're like, "Shut it down." We are located I guess, somewhat driving distance to the studio. So maybe
it's true.
They got wind. They're sending the mouse police.
All that being said, all jokes aside, I am very excited for Disneyland Handcrafted. So apparently, Walt back in the day, obviously to finance the park, heavily depended on television advertising. So I guess he had hired a film crew to basically just film nonstop of them, them building Disneyland for that frenzied year in which they built Disneyland. And we've seen some of the footage, but now we're going to be seeing so much more of it in this Disneyland Handcrafted documentary. And in the trailer, I will say the footage looks incredible, like beautifully restored. I read a book. People who listen to this podcast all the time, I reference this book all the time. I swear I could read other books. It's just I like this book a lot. But Disney's Land is like a very exhaustive account of building Disneyland. So like I've heard all like the anecdotes from all the people involved. So to see the actual footage and put some images to some of the stories that I've read, I am super excited as like a history nerd and like a Disneyland nerd. This one really, I cannot wait for this. And it said it was coming out winter on Disney Plus, so not sure when, but soon at least.
I'm pumped. I like the tone that it's set in this trailer, by the way. It really kind of heightens the risk. It really brings that out of like how risky this whole endeavor was and how big of a feat and the amount of doubt that went on outside of everyone but Disney, although I'm sure Disney had his doubts as well. But
well, he mentioned so much even in the trailer when somebody said, we know we could expect a lot from you, but look at your pedigree. And he goes, that's exactly what worries me. No, I do like the tone because, like, no disrespect, but I don't really enjoy the style behind the attraction. I like the information, but it's the style just isn't for me. I love Imagineering story, or we call it Imagineering. So I'm very, very excited for this. Did they talk a little bit more about this, or was it just the trailer?
It was mainly the trailer. There was a panel with Don Hahn and Leslie Iwerks talking about kind of behind the scenes stuff of creating Disneyland, and they talked about stuff that they uncovered from the archives, and they showed some initial drawings of what the layout of Disneyland would be when it was supposed to be part of the studios in Burbank. Don Hahn pointed out, like, the hub and spoke was still there, and that there were still going to be like lands based off of film genres. And so he really said, like, he wanted everybody to rethink of Disneyland as like you're walking through a movie, you're walking through a dream. Like there are these transitions between these genres. And then Leslie Iwerks, who, like, I completely agree. I love Imagineering story. I love Pixar story from way back in the day that she did.
I don't know if I've seen that. I'm going to have to check that out. That's when she goes through the Pixar headquarters, right? And how they make movies.
Yes, and it tells the whole story of, like, how they started off as part of ILM, and then Steve Jobs bought them, and all of that. So it's a really fascinating. Tells the whole history of that up until, like, I think around like when they did Ratatouille, like something about that. So it's like the beginning of the studio up to then.
So it includes the near catastrophe of Toy Story 2.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that is a very dramatic sequence in that. But I think she is just such a fantastic storyteller. And then also her father, Don Iwerks, was like very instrumental part of the company, worked, I believe, on the Circle Vision camera. And so there's just that really strong lineage there. And yeah, all the footage, they apparently, like, while they were working on Imagineering story, they found all of this archival footage that just had never been seen, never been scanned. And so it was like new to everyone, and was just sitting there in the Disney archives, which is just like, as a parks history nerd, is just like, oh, give it to me. This is so good. I cannot wait for this.
I would pay good money just for uncut footage of Walt. I want the Walt tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all have like the dad version of Walt that was on like
Uncle Walt.
Yeah, like World of Disney. But I also know from all the anecdotes I've read, I've known him to be a pretty intense, creative man. And I kind of wish we could see a little bit more of that. Like, and I know we never probably will, because there's a reason why they have to present the sanitized version of Walt. But I do think in today's day and age, seeing a more for lack of a better term, human Walt would be
100%.
interesting. They'll never do it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will show some like, because he had a little bit of a mean streak. He had a little bit of a temper because he cared. That's all a symptom of him caring. I just wish I could see that a little bit more.
Well, that whole period during the strikes.
Yeah, it kind of left him pretty beleaguered. Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually, there used to be like a 4-hour PBS documentary on Walt Disney. And it was interesting in the sense that it did take kind of that darker, I mean, for the most part, it was, I mean, very fair. And I mean, it was just a really cool portrayal of Walt Disney. But when they tackled that portion, you kind of get that sense that, you know, yeah, he was a very passionate fellow. And yeah, when things weren't going his way, you kind of have to,
you gotta watch out for that eyebrow.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for that cough, watch out for that eyebrow. And
the cough is the funniest thing. We've talked about the cough before.
Yeah,
right?
when he's coming down the hall, when he wanted to make his presence known, he'd give a loud cough
so that people could, get their stuff
correct.
together. Take off like, Monday Night Football off their double screen action.
I think I learned that from this documentary, actually.
Yeah.
I tried to dig it out. Like this was like back around like 2013, 2014 or whatever. And then it used to be like free for everyone to watch. I have yet to find it again. It's a bummer because it's like 4 hours long.
I just feel like the day that Disney covers Walt the man instead of Walt the idea will be pretty compelling.
I agree with that. And I think especially in this, like, probably one of the most stressful years of his life of getting Disneyland built, of this crazy gamble that he did. And especially like, even on day one, the park was not ready. And I think it's like one of those things to like, if we could see more of the passion, more of the, how he got it all whipped together in time. And then also still, kept on driving and kept on trying to improve the parks after that. I think it kind of, humanizes him in a good way, even if it's not fully perfect Uncle Walt, kind of almost Mr. Rogers type of persona.
For sure. I think that's kind of what we need, though. On that note, another announcement. The Walt animatronic now has an evil twin. It's going to be over. It's going to be over at the Carousel of Progress in Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. First off, huge news that the Carousel of Progress is getting a new scene, first off. Yes. And also that there's going to be the Walt animatronic. And more than anything, to me, this means that ride is here to stay. And I think they so much as said that, right?
Yeah, they said something about it's going to be revolving for years to come. It's very interesting. A lot of the focus is on the new scene and the Walt animatronic, and I think for good reason, because that is huge. And I think it's like I'd heard a lot of people speculate, like, because of Walt Disney: A Magical Life, maybe they'll bring the Walt animatronic to One Man's Dream in Hollywood Studios, because it's basically the same movie. They could update it to be the same version and then add the figure there. I like this idea so much more because it ties to the World's Fair again. You have Walt in Disneyland with Lincoln playing in tandem, and now you have Walt in Disney World at Carousel of Progress. And he loved that show so much, and it was his something that he worked on. One of the few attractions at Disney World that he directly worked on. So I think I'm excited to see it happen.
It also plays into more, Walt the Showman. Like, I'm imagining, did they go into any detail on what the scene's going to be? Because in my mind, I was imagining just him kind of introducing what the Carousel of Progress was. Because, like, didn't he intro that on the actual World of Disney television program? Like, I wonder if it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, so there's a TV special called Disneyland Goes to the World's Fair, where Walt is introing all 4 attractions that they're doing there. And there's a whole segment on Carousel of Progress.
Now, another of our World Fair exhibits that features the audio animatronics is the Carousel Theater of Progress.
And if you look at the concept art, he's wearing the blue cardigan that he's wearing in that TV special. He's introducing the world to what audio animatronics are. He's explaining what...
I've seen this clip. It's when the guy has the wires,
suit.
right?
Yeah. Yes, and he's kind of going like this.
Yeah,
and
that's really funny. I love that.
So I'm guessing that it's going to be... all from that special. I'm hoping so. Instead of like, Magical Life, they kind of took different clips from different interviews and stuff and kind of had to blend it together. This, I think they can just take it all from that special and make it all from one source, which I think they'll have to do less audio processing on.
By the way, just as a little off-topic thing, I love Walt the Ride. I think it's great. Walt a Magical Life. I don't think I've actually said this on the podcast proper. We've done it on like various bonus content over at fyapod.com, but I was very moved by Walt a Magical Life. As cynical as I can be, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It really got to me. I guess I could see why people don't like it, but I also feel like it could be one of those things where people were starting to be negative about it, and then people just started jumping on the train. I know you have a video that's like why you're wrong about it, so I know you liked it too. But
Yes.
I hadn't gone out on record and saying I thought the film was incredibly well done. Sure, it doesn't look exactly like him.
Looked great from the back row.
It did look great from the back row. It looks really good from the back row, and it did get an audible gasp when he kind of, I don't want to say stands, when he does like his little lean stand.
Yeah, I don't know. Those movements are amazing.
His kickstand motion, it's pretty good. Oh, and then the last announcement we have, of course, is Tron Air's overlay for the new Tron movie. They're making it red.
Tron is red.
And it has Nine Inch Nails music, which is pretty cool.
Yes, I think that this is going to give a good new heat to the ride, especially the soundtrack. Like the red visuals are cool and bold, but I listened to a bit of the soundtrack, the track that they've released by Nine Inch Nails, and it's like it's a bit edgier, a bit more thrilling. Like I think it will help. I remember on y'all's Rock and Roller Coaster episode talking about Tron and how like it doesn't really. The music is cool, but it's not memorable during the ride. And so I think that this might be able to help with the second half of the ride, the indoor section of like something that's a bit more pulse pounding. That's at least my hope.
Have they confirmed that the track that's released is going to be the one that's featured on the ride?
They just said music by Nine Inch Nails. So I'm not sure.
I mean, I love Nine Inch Nails, so I'm very excited. I mean, any kind of like cool musical overlay I'm usually pretty down for, even back in the day when they did the Red Hot Chili Peppers for some reason playing in space for Space Mountain, but that all, I loved it.
Classic.
And then that's pretty much all the ones that I wrote down of note. Was there anything that I missed that you feel like is worth at least mentioning?
Yeah, I think getting back to Carousel, one thing they did mention that there's going to be further updates to the ride. They said we'll find out what John, Sarah, and the rest of the family are up to. So it's not just that the new scene is getting added. So it was Imagineer Chris Beatty came out to introduce it, and last time he came out on stage at Destination D23 was for the Country Bear redo. So I think it's going to be on the level of that. Not that they're going to have Uncle Orville singing in a whole new world, but that I think they're gonna replace all the animatronics. I feel like they're gonna go electric with them. I feel like it's got to be a new voice cast because the voice actor behind John passed away in 1999. And I feel like there's a chance for them to space out the decades a bit more and have it be more a comprehensive telling of the 20th century. But that's just speculation on my part. All they've said is they're going to do something with the family. So we'll see about that. But I do feel like it's going to be a bigger upgrade than just adding Walt.
And or just like adding an iPad in that grandma's hand or something. Though it is really funny watching her play the video game. I do always think that's really funny.
Just crushing it.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else of note, Byron, that wanted to talk about from the presentation? I think that was the main points. Yeah,
pretty much. I know they announced Dr. Facelier is going into the Disney. Is it the Disney Destiny?
Oh, the Destiny.
It's the Destiny, and it's like a parlor tricks meet and greet encounter where it's like there's an undisclosed location somewhere, and then you go in and you go into his parlor, and he'll do like sleight of hand magic tricks.
I do love close up card magic.
Yeah,
right on. All right. Well, now that I'm a cruiser, I guess
it's
something to look forward to one day. And then they also had that special drink or whatever that's going to be in the Doctor Strange bar.
That's right.
That they teased
the Sanctum. It levitates, it's called Mirror Dimension, I think, and it levitates, and then they put it on a platform and it like electrifies.
Interesting. See, that's cool stuff that I feel like.
What does that mean?
So it like can carry an electric current. So like if you touch the glass, it's kind of like those like orbs that they
like
would
at
have
Spencer's Gifts. Yeah.
Yes, at Spencer's Gifts, exactly. That you touch, and then there's like a lightning bolt goes to your fingers and stuff.
Well, that's cool.
It's fun.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
They love those bubble blowing machines or guns on the ships. Like almost every bar I went to on the Disney Wish had some sort of they're blowing bubbles onto your drinks. What I'd want to bring up then is if they're not going to go insanely heavy with every like D23 event, or especially Destination D23 event for that matter, if they're not going to go super heavy on attractions, maybe just smaller like guest experience type announcements, I think would still really satisfy Disney fans. And maybe that's the route we go when, once every a few D23s, you get door coaster announcements, Villains Land, you get all these crazy announcements like they had last year. And then maybe like Destination, the in-between years, you get a lot of kind of more the nooks and crannies, like guest experience.
Like logistical improvements?
Yeah, just overall like ways to enhance the guest like experience, especially for like things that Disney fans would be well versed in, because after all, it is like basically like the Comic-Con for Disney fans. Mm-hmm. For example, like this is wishful thinking, but just as an example, if they were to ever bring back, let's say, the Magical Express, the bus that would take you from the Orlando airport to the hotel you're staying at, complimentary with your hotel booking. If they were ever to bring back something like that, a bunch of Disney fans would lose their mind.
Oh, that would have brought like down the convention center.
So that's what I'm saying is you could have like those type of announcements that are kind of more integrated with like less of being like its own full land or attraction, but like a big part of the guest experience that could make its way into events like this, and you would still get a lot of hype and a lot of exposure, not quite as much as like say a Villains Land, but it would keep the fans very engaged.
They could bring back early entry.
They haven't even gotten rid of it. Yeah, they gotta get rid of it.
It's coming back to Disneyland.
Yeah, I guess people were upset.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting. About a week and a half before Destination D23, they had this big play and preview event for Walt Disney World. And they announced a lot of stuff that it kind of felt like could have been its own parks panel at Destination D23. They showed updated concept art for Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster. They showed the pre-show with the animatronics for the penguins and Scooter in there. They showed off new Big Thunder Mountain scene for that's renovation. There was a lot of different announcements there. So it's interesting. And then earlier this year at South by Southwest, they shared a lot of stuff about the Monsters Inc. roller coaster with its vertical lift. They showed off stuff about Stark Flight Lab. They showed off, and they had that later in the year, the Piston Peak reveal. So there was stuff that they could have put together that were more of these like specific details, but it seems like their strategy is to spread it out throughout the year and not just have it all happen at Destination D23.
I kind of wonder why. I mean, and I guess that's a good segue into the next section here is what were things that you kind of wish they would have talked about at Destination D23? Obviously within reason, because I know you had some prediction videos as well before, but were there things in particular that you're like, oh, damn, I really do wish they could have talked about that? Yeah,
I wish that we got more about the Tropical Americas land, specifically, because that's not that far out. That's in 2 years. It's far enough out that it feels like they could have shared some imagery of like a model or something. They had like 2 seconds of it in the Imagineer That YouTube show that just debuted. And so I think that they could have had a panel that was kind of similar to the villain stuff, where they just show the research that they're doing and show like their philosophy behind the land, and even just give like an idea of like, okay, what is the Encanto ride going to be? Is it a trackless ride? Is it
we don't know what it is.
Boat ride? Is it, we don't know what it is. And maybe even talk about how that fits into Animal Kingdom in a bigger way. So I would have liked to see that. I like all like the crunchy behind the scenes stuff. And even just for recent stuff that debuted, like Test Track or Beacon Barrel, I wish they had like Imagineers who worked on those there to kind of do like, not a post-mortem, but just kind of like a look at like, okay, now that this is public stuff, let's talk about hidden details or how we made a certain effect work or something like that. Give that behind the scenes look. So that's the type of stuff that I was hoping for a little bit more of.
No, that's a really good point of like their more recent projects that kind of have flown under the radar, even something like Test Track or Walt the Ride. Those are things that like us park fans, we love it, but like I don't feel like there has been too much about them. So like, yeah, a retrospective of some sort of like, something like that would be nice with people who worked on it. I personally, I know you would agree with me with this as well, but I kind of wish we had, if they would have brought down the house, if they just told us a little bit of what they're going to do at Tomorrowland, just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to happen soon. I feel like that's something for next year because it will be in California. It will be, they'll be done with the 70th anniversary. I feel like whatever they're going to do with Tomorrowland, they'll start after the 70th. They have a lot announced for DCA right now, but they don't have a lot announced about Disneyland. So if I'm doing predictions for D23 2026, my track record for this year's D23 was abysmal. But I'd say that would be kind of top of my list would be Tomorrowland redo.
It wasn't 0% though. You said you had 3 out of 23.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's not
3 or
0.
4.
That's a bad stretch in baseball, but still like major league level. You like,
for certain players.
No, I think Tomorrowland, that would have been amazing. I mean, I like you said, I wanted a little bit more progress updates on something like the Tropical Americas, or I'm very excited for the Coco Boat Ride and Pandora 2, as well as Cars Land 2. I'm not so much excited for Cars Land 2 as I am interested in what are they doing over there. So I would have liked at least like an update with that. But we kind of knew it was going to be like this. Byron, did you have any things that you wish you could have seen there?
James took mine. Tropical Americas was the top of my list. It's just a little something there, especially now that they've officially announced a closure date for Dinosaur. Could have maybe softened the blow for those dinosaur fans out there. Just a little something for Coco, maybe. Like they've given a lot of kind of teases regarding, obviously Avengers is going vertical right now, and Avatar they've teased for many years at this point, whether it be shareholder phone calls or the D23 last year. So like a little teaser update in regards to the progress of Coco.
Poco Loco.
I thought that was kind of like a realistic prediction going into this event. We didn't really get that. So there's that. And then I already mentioned this, just guest experience add-ons. Like things, even if it's like new cool menu items and stuff like that. I know those like come and go like super quick, so it's kind of hard to, I guess, and put it in these announcements. But I feel like there's some ways to, whether it's like through hotels or maybe an upcoming restaurant or something to get us like seasoned Disney goers, especially the type of people that go to the D23 events, something for them to like maybe look forward to on their next vacation. That's not necessarily like an attraction, because I do feel that a lot of the big criticisms amongst a lot of park fans is always like judging the current status of Disney or whatever other theme park titan based on, what attraction have you built for me lately? We only get one new ride every year and stuff like that. And like, that's like, I always just found that kind of funny, because there are so many current attractions where I think it's more important to kind of work on like kind of the glue that ties everything together, like the guest experience, whether that's, there's like obviously the Lightning Lane, Fast Pass the Lightning Lane was quite a shakeup, but like just the inner workings of how you navigate your day and finding ways to make it work for both the fans and the people that aren't as insanely well versed so that you don't necessarily need to like have a college degree in Disney park planning.
I wouldn't mind a new ride. I'm not going to lie.
We would always love a new ride, but I mean, and oftentimes that comes at the expense of some other like ride you like.
That's
so
true.
I just think there are so many good current offerings that we've been spoiled with. I mean, they're not always like a surefire hit, but I would like to see if you're not, if your construction rate is what it is, let's be real. That's been kind of like the running joke ever since Tron started construction in 2017.
That's right.
Yeah. 5 years for Tron.
Yeah.
Is like, if I would be more okay if the rate of attractions took as long as it did, as long as the guest experience or finding ways to improve kind of the whole resorting and like escapism of going to these destinations was improved.
Yeah.
So it was a little more seamless, a little less stressful, because like for people like us, it's like kind of part of the fun when you try and find a way to like navigate the system and find like a way to get a leg up and like, it's like a fun challenge. But just talking from a lot of people I know that are like casually visiting a park, every time they show up, it's like, wait, all these rules are different now. And then they're like kind of behind.
Yeah, as someone who makes videos about like Lightning Lane and explaining the system, like it's hard for me to keep up with it, and I pay close attention to how the rules work. And then there's Lightning Lane multi-pass and single pass and premier pass, and like for the I had a friend who was like, hey, can you explain to me how this Lightning Lane system works? I was like, how much time do you have? And she just wanted to take her son and like have a good trip, and it was just like, okay, you're gonna need to study this. Like I think that I completely agree, Byron, that I really hope that they do focus on the guest experience and simplifying things. There's only so much I think that they can do with how, both of these resorts having decades of infrastructure and all of that. And it's just like, it's going to be a complex thing anyway. But I think that there is definitely work to be done to help improve the guest experience. And I do think that a Destination D23 would be a good place to announce those types of things. I think the audience would be receptive to that, of something like bringing back Magical Express or improving, extending early hours or something like that. And also getting back to that other point of the construction taking so long. Like, I think I did an analysis of this, and I looked at New Fantasyland, Cars Land, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and Pandora, and all of those averaged about 3 to 3.5 years from when they broke ground to when they were open. And so I think everyone focuses on Tron because that's the outlier, and that's like kind of the, it happened during COVID, and it was the Chapek era, and it just like that took way too long. And so
it took a year for every 10 seconds of that ride.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a clone, crazy. I think it would have gotten a lot more grace.
100%.
And if it didn't open after Cosmic Rewind, which is like universally like one of the best attractions,
one of the best rides in the world.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So, but I think that there's this sense of like, all these projects that they have of like, Villains Land and Tropical Americas and Cars and Avatar and Avengers, like those are still way, way out. And I think that I think that the pace of them opening up is going to be better than people think, because ground has been broken on a lot of those. And if we're looking at 3 years, then it's it's going to be like 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. Like, I think we're going to have new stuff all throughout those years.
As far as I can see, too, ground broken, vertical on Adventures. The e-ticket, the Avengers, what is it called? Like Elite something? I forget what the name of it.
Infinity Defense.
Yes. Infinity Defense. And then also ground broken on Coco. It looks like right behind the Mickey's Fun Wheel. So, or Pixar Pal Around now. I always forget it's the. The thing I more than anything kind of wish they would have talked about, honestly, is I don't even need to know the details of the players involved or what they're using this. Specifically what attractions or restaurants are going where. I just want to know the infrastructure and layout distribution of Disneyland Forward to some extent.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's been this specter that has loomed over us for like 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we watched the Anaheim City Council live stream. I was so stoked.
We were here.
We were here. We're at my place, and Byron and I were on the couch. We were like so excited. We're like, oh my God, I'm finally going to understand what the hell this project is. And I know they released the concept art, which gave me a million more questions. Because it's, and they've already kind of talked about like maybe concept art isn't going to be exactly what it's going to be. It's more like the essence or idea of what they're trying to build. So I think they're trying to hedge for people getting angry. I want to know like what percentage of Disneyland Forward is going to be park space and rides? What percentage is going to be hotels? What percentage is going to be restaurants? I don't even need to know the details. I just want to know what's happening. Where's the new parking? How am I going to get enter? Is there going to be a new entrance to Disney? Like all these like theme park nerd questions.
They did announce a little bit. There's a new entrance going off of, I believe, Harbor Boulevard.
Yes.
And a parking garage with a walkway over the street there. And I don't want to get the number wrong. I think it's something like 5,000 spaces or 6,000 spaces. So it's going to be pretty significant. And then they're reworking that whole entrance area. They're adding like a Disneyland sign that's very retro inspired. But I think that's going to be all reworked because of where Avatar's going.
Yes. And I was curious. I mean, the new entrance, it looks like from that concept art, which I guess we could throw that on screen. Sorry, Byron.
I do much worse.
It appears that it's Tomorrowland is where you're going to actually enter, which is even funnier because I don't know what's happening with Tomorrowland either. So when I saw that picture, I was like, okay, Tomorrowland looks a little different. So I was thinking, foolishly, I might add now, okay, I don't think they're going to announce anything, but if they do, they're probably going to talk about Disneyland Forward and Tomorrowland. And I was wrong. So I was like, wow. So I think I went in maybe just a little hot. But I am curious how it's going to happen. I know some of the shuffling is like there's going to be new security entrance and stuff like that too, I think. So I'm fascinated by infrastructure and how they
it does
Perfect
that
timing for that.
almost every
perfect
episode
time
now.
for, as I complain about
infrastructure.
Disney's infrastructure and then a light almost falls on top of my head. I set up those lights too, by the way.
Disney gods are screaming down, shut up.
No, but I am a nerd about like how people move and park flow and all that stuff. And like Byron was saying, if they were to feed the hounds, so to speak, feed all of us weirdos just a little like very in the weeds details about how they're planning things, I think it would go a long way. But I still continue to be vexed by whatever shape Disneyland Forward is going to be.
It's a real mystery. Every time I'll see somebody tweet about it and like they have like some new theory about it of like, oh, actually all that space is a new park, or all that space is like there's going to be tunnels underground or something to get you to the the part that's kind of behind the hotels. And it's all a giant mystery to me. It's always fascinating, what they do at Disneyland because they're so space constrained.
Yep.
I'm very excited to see what happens with all of that.
And then the last thing I kind of wish, this is never going to happen, but I kind of wish that Disney and Universal would acknowledge each other. I know I can't be alone here. I feel like they are sitting on a gold mine of engagement. It's right there if they want it. If they just were to start throwing little shots at each other, but kind of like in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. I know Disney would never, I guess, they would probably see it this way, like bring themselves down to that level. I feel like in a weird way, maybe Universal might be more game, but if they kind of had this like friendly rivalry, I think it only helps each other. But like it becomes increasingly harder for me to ignore when they do these like big panels and it's like, okay, we have, this, and this, and then Universal's like, we're building a whole new epic universe level park in the UK, and like, it's just, I feel like it would be helpful for them to just acknowledge there is somebody, sure, you could be Superman, but acknowledge that there is at least somebody tugging on your cape so that we don't think you don't think you have to work a little hard. I don't know. Maybe that's just me as like a theme park fan, but I wish they would do that. And I don't know how they would do that, but I think the people would love to see it.
When we went to that Knott's event last week, didn't they take a shot at, was it Universal or one of the other like theme park?
Well, Knott's is like
that's what I'm saying.
a gunslinger out
they,
there.
They made
know
they
the
made some
ultimate-
reference of having the idea first that the other. I don't know if I don't want to. I can't confirm if it was Universal. It's one of those other theme park companies did like a maze that was like very directly related to a maze that.
No, I think they were talking about Six Flags.
Well, they're the same company now, so I don't know why they throw those shots.
I mean that. I think because controversy kind of breeds engagement. That's why I do think if Disney were to be like, look, we all know you're wondering what we're going to do to answer to Epic Universe, and even if they were like, we're working on it, that would.
I don't think they'd ever do that. Because then you're basically acknowledging that you're kind of like on the same level, or Universal's not even doing that anymore because acknowledging Disney makes them feel like kind of the little brother punching up.
I guess they don't really have to anymore.
They could just get to share all the stuff they're proud to share and then let us decide and let us do the chatter right now.
If if they were able to somehow get like Iger to sit down with like Woodbury, just have them have a fireside chat. I would
love that.
I would pay to watch it just to have you guys can ask each other whatever you want and let us watch. I'd love it.
Mark, Robert, we know you're either watching or listening to this.
Or put Josh up there.
Right
put Josh
now,
and Mark. Josh and Mark.
We'll even take Josh. Josh tomorrow seems like a very chill guy.
Yeah, that's true.
All three of you want to come on the pod?
Yeah, round table.
We got a fridge right there. We got beer. You just fire up your order. We'll have it waiting here.
God, that would be so good.
I love this idea. This needs to happen.
We'll bring in a few frosty mugs to really sweeten the pot.
I think it'll be fun, but they're never going to do it. I guess I get why they wouldn't. I just think it'll be fun to start the acknowledge. It's like in sports when two teams clearly hate each other and they're both very good. I love it when they acknowledge it and they're like, yeah, we've been seeing how they're playing, and that makes me care more. So I just wish we didn't live in this bizarro world in which you have to pretend like they're unaware of anything the other one is doing. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, if anyone wants an unannounced fifth Walt Disney World park, I think it would come directly out of one of those conversations.
It would just slip out.
Which, by the way, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Does Disney World need a fifth park? I know that's something people have been asking for forever.
I think right now, all the parks except Magic Kingdom need expansion before a fifth park.
I agree.
I think that they're, Animal Kingdom's getting some attention, but even then it's a lot of replacing rides. I feel like it could use a true expansion and adding a bit more capacity to that park. I think Hollywood Studios still could use that. Epcot could definitely use that. There's so many expansion plots there for new World Showcase pavilions.
Oh my God, I would
been
love
the plan since the beginning, and yeah, I would love to see something like that. So I feel like they're focusing on expansion. They're focusing on the right thing. I think a fifth gate will happen at some point, but it's probably going to be talking about things that are going to be a long time from now, like at least 10 to 15 to 20 years.
That's crazy.
And I think what would further validate that opinion, James, is that because I think a lot of us have been asked over the last couple of years, when do you think they'll get a fifth park? And I kind of had my answer about a year ago after the last D23 when they announced the massive fleet of ships. And the best response I can think of is, well, their fifth park is on the ocean.
Yeah. That's
their capacity I mean, you see it in the promotions, you see it in a lot of their announcements and experiences, attractions, what have you, are taking place on these new ships. So that's where I think they're finding all that new capacity, because they do have a crazy amount of demand. So I think if they're able to spread that demand out amongst all sorts of different experiences, in addition to their worldwide parks, which are also getting a bunch of new immersive lands. James, it seems like you've been going to these events for many years at this point.
Yes.
Ryan and I have never been to any of these events. We usually just kind of rely on on your kind of updates at this point. And we're like, yeah, we get to sit on the couch and we'll get all the updates, or we'll maybe take in a few Scott Gustin tweets.
Yes, that's right.
Or Carly.
Yeah.
I got to sit like pretty close to Scott while he was posting updates, and I was like, oh, this is like watching a major leaguer at work. This is This is amazing. Yeah.
I'm watching Da Vinci paint, or not Da Vinci, but like Van Gogh paint here.
Yeah, and I feel like most of my job is just reading Scott's tweets and like figuring out how to make a video out of that. So it was very cool to meet him and see that.
So I guess like now that we've gotten all the announcements and stuff out of the way, because as Disney park fans or even Disney fans in general, I'm curious as to what is the experience like outside of the announcements, like, because obviously it's multiple days. So you're probably staying on property. You're around a bunch of Disney fans. So there's probably a little bit of a social element to it. I'm guess like, what's like the overall like vibe and experience like?
So this was my first Destination D23 in Florida. I had been to D23 out in California 3 times, and it's a very different experience. It's still like great being around a bunch of Disney fans, a lot of people who share the passion for all the things that Disney does. But something that like this event really like brings into focus is just how broad the Disney fandom is. I think, as parks guys, we can really just focus on like, okay, what did they announce for the theme parks? What they announce for rides? There's, they had this Disney Channel panel and they brought out all these actors, and they could have brought out 5 random people from the crowd. And I've been like, wow, these people must be famous. But there were people losing their minds of these people, and they have such deep connection to this. So that's something that it kind of like really puts into focus. The cool thing about Destination D23, and I was invited to cover this as media. This is my first time going to an event like this as media. So I got a little bit of a different experience, both in like very, very cool ways. Like I got to meet Jodie Benson, which was amazing.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
She was as lovely of a person as you could hope to meet. So that was awesome. But then also just like, I'm sitting in the media section and going like, oh, the Wi-Fi is not working. I need to get an update about this castle paint, and like running around, like I'm trying to find signal. So there was a little bit of like, it's stressful to try to do it as a job, but they put on a fantastic show. Like I have to say, I was kind of like, I was focused all on what are the parks announcements going to be? How am I going to make a video about this? How am I going to, do coverage on all the things that they announced for the parks? And then I got there and I was really taken back by the show that they put on. They had this kind of like cast of Broadway performers come and do medleys.
That's really cool.
To start out. And plus, there was them plus Susan Egan, who was Broadway's original Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and Meg from
I was about
Hercules.
to say Meg,
yeah, and Jodie Benson performing, and they did these amazing medleys, and they had this like concert at the end that was all the 80s and 90s songs from just all the songs of my childhood, and this snuck up on me. I don't know why, but I was like, oh yeah, these are all the songs that I grew up with, and being sung by the most talented people in the world. You have Jodie Benson singing Part of Your World. You have Susan Egan singing her songs. They sang a duet of When Somebody Loved Me from Toy Story 2. I was getting teary-eyed. The one of my favorite moments that kind of encapsulates the Destination D23 experience is that they had Bill Farmer and Jason Marsden, voice of Goofy and Max from Goofy Movie, come out. This is like an anniversary year. So I heard Eye to Eye this weekend like 80 times. So they came out and they sang On the Open Road, which is like the cute, like they're traveling song, like very cute, campy musical theater song. And as I'm recording it, and as they start, the person who's right in front of me like throws up the devil horns and just like rock and roll. And they're like so amped. And that's like the Destination D23 experience of like these really special moments that happen, and people are so stoked for it. And it is very exciting to be in a room with 4,000 Disney fans and get to see, Patrick Warburton come out on stage, or get to see a panel on Exitencio, who's a legendary Imagineer. One of my favorite Imagineers, crazy talented in so many different ways. And,
Versatile, yeah.
Not only wrote, Grim Grinning Ghosts and Yo-Ho, and apparently had that like in his back pocket when he pitched it to Walt. He was just like, yeah, we should have a song like Yo-Ho, Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. And it's just like, wow, got it in one. And he also did the final design for Figment, which I never knew.
Wait, I didn't know that. That's so funny.
Yeah, because he was an animator and an artist, and so in his his speciality apparently was making things cute. So Tony Baxter came up with the idea for Figment and had some, there were some initial sketches, but they wanted to make him more cuddly and cute, and they went to Exitensio to work on the finalized Figment design that we all know and love. So it's stuff like that that's like, as a Parks fan. And as a Disney fan, like, that stuff is so cool to get to see and get to learn, and you get to see all these legendary Disney people, whether it's like Becky Cline from the Disney Archives, or Don Hahn, who's so well versed in the history of Disneyland and Disney, or like Ron Clements, director of Little Mermaid, came out and he and Jodie Benson did a retrospective. And we talked earlier at the start of this about how you guys lost a recording. Apparently, they lost a whole day of recording Little Mermaid because they all forgot to hit the record button.
Hey, I've done that.
Right,
hey,
happens to the best
just
of us,
like
I guess.
one of us.
Happens to Disney legends.
Great.
And for your amusement. And
that's right.
To me too.
Notable omission of legend there, by the way, but that's fine. I totally hear what you're saying. I think why because I used to go to Comic-Con a lot just for this similar reason. When you go to a con of any kind, I also just did a live show over at Midsummer Scream, which it's like a convention for horror movies, but also horror theme parks, so like Halloween Horror Nights and Not Scary Farm and all that stuff.
You're like Brad Pitt over there, by the way.
Yeah, but the reason why I like those kinds of things is it's because it's a physical place where a bunch of people who are really passionate and care a lot about the thing that's being covered, they could all gather, and they're all there to just not yuck each other's yum, essentially. It feels like anything on the internet nowadays, it's to tear things down or to say why things are bad. And I get it. You could have fun. We have fun, but at the heart of it, we still love all this stuff. We still love Disney parks. We love Universal Resorts. And to be at a place where everybody is just like, man, this is awesome, I could totally see why that would be a fun thing to be a part of. Maybe we'll try and get down there one year.
You guys gotta do these. D23. I went before they went to the Honda Center, and I know that made it for the big presentations were a lot easier to get into because everyone had like an assigned seat and everything like that. Before you had to line up for hours and hours and kind of pick and choose. But still, even then, that expo is a little. It's not Expo. It's the D23, the ultimate fan event. I found it a bit overwhelming because it was waiting in a lot of lines, waiting in lines for the shops, waiting in lines for the panels. You really do have to pick and choose, have a strategy going in. The nice thing about Destination D23 is like there were lines to get into the shops the first day, but that's all that was going on that day. There was it was shopping day. And then it was 2 days of panels. And everybody was able to get into the hall. It's one hall. You get to see every presentation if you want to. There was an archives exhibit, and they had like cool things like the little red animatronic from Animal Kingdom from Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Incredible.
They had Joe Rohde's boots that he would wear on research trips, and his sketchbook from his trip to Nepal. With the Yeti in it. And so that was very cool to see. And they had the model of the Millennium Village that was at Epcot around 2000.
That's amazing.
This is exactly what I wanted to hear, James, because for whatever reason, I always felt like guilty thinking this. I've always felt, or at least over the past few years, felt more drawn to, if I were to go to a D23 event, I would prefer going to the Disney World version.
I like how it is like a bit more focused, and they, as I mentioned earlier, they had the Typhoon Lagoon after hours party, and that was everybody.
That sounds so fun.
That's so cool.
At the convention got to go to that. And they had like, it was like an after hours party where it's like free ice cream, free popcorn, free sodas. It was Cuzcotopia night. And so they had some rare Emperor's New Groove characters show up, and there was like dance parties, a bingo scavenger hunt thing. But mainly, like I did the lazy river, I did the water slides, I did Crush and Gusher to end the night. It was so much fun. So it's just like I think I saw some, I wasn't on Twitter that much this weekend, but I did see some people go like, oh, what a disappointing event because they didn't announce a new ride or knew this or knew that. And there was the news, there were some surprises. I think Carousel of Progress is a big surprise, but I think overall my big like takeaway about this event is that it's just like they put on a great show for the fans and that it's not all about the parks. There was a lot of stuff out there for the studios. We got previews of movies. There was stuff there about animation. There was stuff there about Disney history and stuff like that. And, like I mentioned before, Disney Channel. So there was something kind of there for everyone. So I do think it's a different experience being there in person than just like following the news online.
No, yeah, and anybody could get the highlights online, but I guess if you're there, it's a completely different experience. So, Byron and I were curious about what that was like because we haven't been, and it is easy to just kind of cherry pick and look at like bullet points and kind of poke fun at them from afar. But like, I was curious about what it's like.
Where are the panels held specifically? Was it contemporary again?
No, so this year it moved to Coronado Springs. It doubled in size. So it went from 2,000 attendees to 4,000 attendees.
That's a beautiful area.
Oh, it's great.
Did you stay there too, or were you at another hotel?
I did not. I got like a Marriott down the street for that, but I am staying in Coronado. I'm checking in tomorrow, so and that's my first time staying there. So I'm very excited to check that out.
I've only walked around that area, but it's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful.
I guess that about does it, guys. That was a pretty deep dive on D23. We covered some of the good, some of the bad, some of the funny. Get your hands on those popcorn buckets while they still last. And I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you listening to the pod. We appreciate the content you put out because we like listening to that. So it's nice to finally meet you. And we'll have to get you back on to cover a world-class attraction, hopefully.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you guys so much for having me on. This has been awesome.
This is a real treat for us too. Is there anything that you want to plug that's coming out on Guide to WTW? No, Guide to WDW.
There you go. You got it. So
Guide to WDW.
Oh, yes. Shut up, Byron.
So I'm Guide to WDW on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, and then Guide to Disney on Instagram. You can follow me there for all the updates. I'm doing a Fall and Holidays preview this week, so I'm going to be sharing some of that. But I have very exciting news that I'm saying here for the first time. But and since you guys said this episode will come out next week, it might be happening right around the time you publish. But I'm partnering with Disney to give away a vacation to Disney World.
We'd be honored to take that. Appreciate it. Thanks, James.
No, that's what.
Sorry, everyone. We got there first.
Yeah. So sorry. It's already taken. No. So one of my subscribers will be getting a random drawing to get a vacation to Walt Disney World. There's going to be more details up on my website next week. So so that it's one of those things that's like, really, you're trusting me to do this? But it's very cool. I'm very excited.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
Congrats, man. That's really cool.
It's incredible. I'm incredibly excited. I know that whoever the winner is, maybe you guys, I don't know. It's random.
Could you imagine if you had won that?
Oh man,
I don't think everyone would think it's so rigged.
I would get in probably the biggest trouble ever. No, so whoever the lucky winner is, I know that it's going to be a thrilling thing because there's nothing like a Walt Disney World vacation.
That's really cool.
There really isn't. I can't
really
wait
isn't
to go
anything
back.
quite like it. You're right. You get so stoked.
That's probably a big reason why I want to go to the Destination D23.
Just because you want to turn into a Disney World.
Oh yeah. Because I was gonna say like obviously we're very attraction based, but I've noticed that also some of the best days I've spent at Disney World are what my siblings like to call ancillary days, which are like the days like if you ever get like a day or two to rest in between destroying those parks and getting on all the rides. and just kind of resort hopping or
That's
just
the
kind
best.
of like not having a plan. It's just, it's beautiful.
I mean, I guess that's the
love that.
equivalent of D23 vibes that we were talking about. On paper, it doesn't look like much, but when you're like just riding that Skyliner, you're riding high. Well, that does it for this episode of For Your Amusement. If you're watching, make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and if you're listening, subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars. And as mentioned up top before, you can support us over at fyapod.com to get access to those 3 monthly bonus shows, as well as ad-free episodes. Was there anything else I missed there? Oh yeah, maybe some early access to some of the Vicarious vlogs and merch as well. But other than that, again, thank you for coming on.
And then let us know whenever you're in SoCal.
Definitely will do. That should happen some point in not so distant future. So thank you so much for having me on. This has been a true pleasure.
Really appreciate it, James. You've been a treat.
And also thank you to everybody who are already park hoppers over there at fyapod.com. Here's some e-ticketers that we'd like to thank. Poo-Cloo Clock, who I've said before. Ash Illustrates. Ronan the Sheba. That's a dog. Bird Verbatim. Caitlin Bostic. Nick the Knicks fan. Bippity Boppity Barbs. Devanir and Botanicus. My guy.
Botanicus.
And Velociraptor.
Botanicus.
That's right. Follow the pod socials at FYAPod everywhere. I'm at Ryan Bergara. Byron is at Byron A. Marin. Thanks for spending your time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all on the next ride. Bye-bye.